Imagine being chosen to spend the night with the most powerful man in the empire. Not because of love, not because of passion, but because your name was pulled from a silent tray of jade in a palace where desire was dictated and intimacy was orchestrated like military protocol. You do not speak. You do not walk. You are carried inspected, stripped of anything that might resemble freedom. In that moment, you are not a woman. You are an offering, a symbol, a pawn in a centuries-old game of control. Behind the gilded gates of the Forbidden City, hidden beneath the silken ceremony, lay one of the most emotionally claustrophobic systems in human history, the Imperial Harem of ancient China. While myths have painted it as a world of luxury and seduction, the truth is colder, more calculated. Every step a concubine took, every bath she soaked in, every night she was summoned, it was all monitored, recorded, timed, not to ensure pleasure but to protect power. This was not romance. It was surveillance. This was not affection. It was dynasty preservation. And at the heart of it were women, thousands of them, each silently enduring a life shaped not by who they were, but by what their presence could provide. This is the story they never told you. This is the ritualized loneliness behind the red walls of empire. Stay with me, because once you enter the emperor's bedchamber, you may never see power or womanhood the same way again. It began with silence, not the peaceful kind, but the heavy ritualized stillness of a system that did not tolerate choice. When a concubine was selected, she did not walk to the emperor's chamber, she was summoned. And that summons did not come with fanfare, but through a discreet signal delivered by palace eunuchs. Her name inscribed on a jade plaque had been turned over on a ceremonial tray. She had no say. There was no request, no emotion, only obedience. From that moment, she ceased to exist as an individual. Her thoughts, her desires, her fear, all irrelevant. She was now a vessel chosen not for who she was, but for what she might offer an heir, a moment of favor, a fleeting illusion of closeness. And in that first step, before a word was spoken, before a door creaked open, she entered a life where her body would be watched, her silence enforced, and her humanity slowly erased. Behind the crimson walls of the Forbidden City, intimacy was never private. Every aspect of the emperor's bedroom life was governed by a vast network of officials, eunuchs, and unwritten expectations. While the outside world saw him as a god among men, even the Son of Heaven followed rules when it came to the women of the harem. Each night was choreographed like a political ritual. The emperor would finish his duties, return to his quarters, and be presented with the tray, simple in form, yet powerful in meaning. Each jade plaque bore a woman's name, but the order of the names could be carefully manipulated. A favored eunuch might shift a plaque forward. A court faction might whisper a suggestion. What seemed like a free choice was often an illusion. The women never knew why they were chosen, only that they were. And in this system, even desire bowed to strategy. Once chosen, the woman's transformation began not into a lover, but into an instrument of imperial design. She was escorted back to her quarters in silence, where her attendants prepared her for the night ahead. She bathed in water infused with rare herbs and oils, not for comfort, but for ritual purification. These were not acts of self-care, but erasures of selfhood intended to cleanse her not just physically, but spiritually of anything unworthy. Her robe was not chosen for beauty, but for symbolism, embroidered with motifs of fertility, submission, harmony. Her skin was powdered, her hair combed to perfection, her body inspected by a senior eunuch. No jewelry, no scent, no secret weapon. Every curve, every crease was checked for signs of danger. In the name of protecting the emperor, she was stripped of autonomy. In the name of order, she became a living ceremony. Her humanity was made flawless and invisible. When the time came, she did not walk to the emperor, she was carried. Laid upon a silk-draped stretcher, she was transported through the palace corridors like a sacred object. The silence was absolute. No footsteps, no whispers, just the soft rustle of silk and the controlled breath of eunuchs sworn to secrecy. This wasn't luxury, it was containment. By lifting her off the ground, the palace eliminated any chance she could smuggle poison in her shoes or flee her duty. Every step was designed to restrict motion strip freedom and preserve control. At the chamber's threshold, she was inspected again, one final sweep for hidden threats, and then laid gently onto the imperial bed. She waited. She could not speak unless spoken to. Her presence was tolerated, not welcomed. Her silence wasn't shyness, it was law. This was not seduction. This was submission performed behind locked doors and unreadable eyes. When the hour was over, she was not kissed goodbye. She was not asked how she felt. A eunuch would knock softly. If there was no response, he would enter, not out of respect, but to ensure the emperor was still alive. Once dismissed, she was wrapped again in ceremonial silk and carried back the same way she came, silent, unseen, untouched by affection. She could not linger. She could not speak. The rules were clear. No woman could stay longer than another. No favorite could rise too far. The system demanded strict equality, not for fairness, but to prevent power from shifting through affection. Her night with the emperor, no matter how intimate, would not be discussed. It was documented, measured, and forgotten. She returned to her quarters not as someone remembered, but as someone erased, another entry in the palace ledger, another night where her body served and her voice remained unspoken. Her presence may have been silenced, but her body was never forgotten. Every moment she spent with the emperor was meticulously recorded. Time entered. Time exited any sign of intimacy, any possible conception. The goal was not romance, but lineage control. If a child was conceived, the records ensured the bloodline was indisputable. Even her menstrual cycle became state business. During her period, she was forbidden from being selected. To avoid humiliation, women used discreet symbols, red silk ribbons, hidden notes, a gold ring worn on a finger. But some, desperate for favor, hid the truth, risking punishment, even death. In response, eunuchs were ordered to monitor each woman's physical health, track her cycle, report inconsistencies. The palace turned natural biology into political data. In this world, a woman's womb was not hers. It belonged to the empire. And her most private realities became public property, documented with clinical precision. In the Forbidden City, affection was never harmless. A single night of favor could shift alliances, provoke jealousy, or ignite rebellion. The emperor's attention was political currency, and the woman who received it too often became a threat. Factions formed around her. Rivals watched her every move. Some sought to discredit her, others to eliminate her. And when power and obsession collided, the consequences turned deadly. During the reign of the judging emperor, his desperate search for immortality led him to force concubines into alchemical experiments. He made them drink potions laced with mercury, and arsenic, convinced it would preserve his youth. Many fell ill. Some died. Eventually, a group of concubines, pushed to the edge of endurance, plotted his assassination. They failed. The punishment was brutal. Public execution, families, disgraced names erased. In the end, their attempt became a cautionary tale. In the emperor's bed, love could never be safe, and survival was never guaranteed. Among the many women who passed through the emperor's bed, few are remembered like Yang Guifei. Her beauty was said to make flowers wilt in shame, her presence so captivating it stirred poems for centuries. She won the heart of Emperor Xuanzong during the Tang dynasty, not just his desire, but his trust. He elevated her family, showered her with wealth, and ignored warnings from his advisors. But in the palace, love was never just personal. Her growing influence sparked resentment. When rebellion broke out and the empire teetered on collapse, military leaders demanded her execution, blaming her for distracting the emperor from his duties. To save the throne, he gave in. Yang Guifei was taken to a temple and either hanged or forced to drink poison. No one knows for sure. What remains is legend of a woman who was loved too much, blamed too quickly, and remembered forever in ink song and silence. In the Imperial Harem, love was not a virtue, it was a liability. Every detail, from the jade plaques to the timed encounters, served one purpose: control. The rituals were never about passion or pleasure. They were about managing bloodlines, maintaining political balance, and protecting the emperor's life. Even moments of intimacy were engineered to suppress unpredictability. A concubine could share the emperor's bed, yet remain invisible the next morning. Her body was present, but her voice, her thoughts, her soul erased. This was a world where obedience was survival and silence was strategy, where beauty could be fatal and favor could invite ruin. And yet, behind every bowed head and silk curtain, there lived thousands of women, thinking, fearing, remembering who they once were before the palace remade them. The Forbidden City didn't just confine bodies. It trained women to disappear while still breathing. And that perhaps was the most dangerous ritual of all. They called it the Forbidden City, but for the women inside it was a prison without bars. Every ritual, every gesture, every silence was part of a larger machinery designed not to love them, but to use them. They were not wives, not even mistresses. They were vessels of legacy erased in real time. Yet their pain echoes. In their quiet obedience, we see the cost of systems that value power over humanity. And in remembering them not as titles, but as women, we reclaim what history tried to forget. Because sometimes survival itself is the loudest form of rebellion.